that people should drink too much water. But
so there is too much water. I mean, it is possible to drink too much water.
Of course there is. I'm not saying that water is something that they should drink a lot. It'll wash out most of their minerals. They have to continuously replace the minerals if they want to keep healthy. But thirst mechanism is a failing mechanism. As we grow older, from the age of 20 onwards, we lose our perception of thirst. This is a research that was done. Younger people with elderly were put on 24-hour water. They didn't drink water for 24 hours. When they put water next to them, the younger people drank copiously, the older people didn't drink properly. They even put water next to the person who was obviously dehydrated. He wouldn't reach for the water to drink it. He had lost his perception of thirst. Does it mean to say that his body was becoming independent of water needs? No. He was slowly dying from dehydration. So there is science there, Dr. Brown. We need to look at the scientific side of the WaterCure. Molecular physiology of dehydration is a well-known dimension. We've studied it for 20 years, and it's been published, and it's also posted on the internet. All the journals, articles that have been published on that are on WaterCure.com. You can go and take a look at it. They're all referenced articles. They've been evaluated at peer review settings. And this is new information that's coming out.
Well,
we can't stay with the old information. That's obsolete. That's giving us the healthcare crisis that's costing the American people $1.3 or $4 billion a year, $1 trillion a year.
You know, I've scanned things like the New England Journal of Medicine, the Annals of Internal Medicine, the American Journal of Medicine, and very reputable things. I would think this would be such cutting-edge, breaking news that the New England Journal of Medicine would be clamoring to get that article.
I presented the articles to them. They wouldn't publish it.
Well, if that material is well done, I cannot imagine
that. It is well done. You read it. Others read it, and they said it's well done. I got a letter from the editor of the journal. He said, we don't print such stuff. I said, why don't you print such stuff? No, it's not commercial. They won't print it. Who is going to get and do their own business?
I don't know. That's not my understanding of
my understanding.
Of the New England Journal of Medicine.
It doesn't matter. They're all commercial institutions. It doesn't make any difference who is behind it.
All right. We're going to add another doctor to our program as we go to Danville and welcome Dr. Brown to the show. Doctor?
Robert Brown to boot.
Another Robert Brown.
I'm a journalist, and recently came into my possession sort of an interesting volume. It's called The WaterCure in America, over 300 documented cases of various diseases that were treated with water. And it was written in 1852 by a group of doctors in New York. And it's a very, very interesting volume. It's some 300 pages long, and it tells all about the treatments and the results and everything else. And just as a point of information, it's a bit of Americana and interest, at least I think so. And I'm doing a story on the volume and so forth and so on.
So your point, Doctor, is that really this is something that the medical community has had knowledge of for quite some time and probably has had differing opinions on for quite some time.
Oh, yes, from practically the beginning of time, I would say that there's been interest in water and its use. And, you know, the Romans made their aqueducts to carry water not only for bathing, but for household uses and drinking. So it goes back centuries.
It developed science when I discovered that histamine is a neurotransmitter in charge of water regulation of the body. And most of the drugs being produced are basically antihistamines, other than antibiotics. Tricyclic antidepressants, they're all antihistamines. Painkillers, they're all antihistamines. Tagamet, Zantac, and they're like antihistamines. Water is a better antihistamine than anything else. It's a fact. Well, the cells that produce histamine, as soon as you put them in a solution of lower viscosity, they lose their histamine granules, and for a whole month they don't manufacture any more histamine.
All right.
So,
Dr. Batman-Gelich mentioned the WaterCure website, and actually we want to let you know that you can view his website, Dr. Valentin's study, and other related articles by visiting the WVIA website at wvia.org. You'll find links to both sides of this issue on our website, again, at wvia.org. Bob mentioned this earlier about Alzheimer's, and you made the comment, Dr. Brown, about the New England Journal of Medicine. There are thousands of cases of Alzheimer's, obviously, across this country, but there are several prominent people right now, Charlton Heston, and of course former President Ronald Reagan. If it were, and again, this is a common sense question, gentlemen, if it were as simple as just drinking water, why would someone with the resources of a former president like Ronald Reagan not be doing something just like that?
I don't. That's why it. You know,
because he's advised by other people who don't believe in the water.
But you have a wife. But you have a wife who obviously wants him to get better also.
She doesn't know anything about the WaterCure.
All right, Dr. Brown, let's start.
Well, I would just, my only point is, I just can't imagine that there's this huge conspiracy to withhold from the public things that are so salutary. I mean, maybe I'm naive.
It's ignorance.
I don't think, it's ignorance of what?
Lack of understanding, because...
Well, I understand a lot of this. I understand that Alzheimer's disease is a degenerative disease where there's amyloid fibrils in the neurons in the brain, and I have no idea exactly what water does to those amyloid. They're insoluble, so I can't imagine what water would do.
That's like
to them.
MS. with the myelin sheath is deteriorating. 100% of the people, I've talked to lots of people with MS, I have yet to see one that didn't have severe dehydration, and I've seen plenty of people with MS get cured, but nobody's paying any attention.
Well, Bob, but I've also known people who, in search of a cure for multiple sclerosis have turned to things like bee sting therapy and magnets. And, I mean, you know, we are all in search of better health, and we will all try just about anything.
If nothing kills you quicker than lack of water, I mean, if you have this much common sense, well, geez, let's see if we're not low on water.
But let me get back to my question, though. Why? All right, but if it's that easy, why isn't Ronald Reagan better?
Let me tell you something. I wrote to Bernadine Healy when she became head of the NIH. I congratulated her for a new post. I said, please open the windows in that institution, let some fresh air in. And she wrote back a kind letter, and I had sent her some of my materials, and she wrote back and said that she'd enjoyed reading it. She would like to have it evaluated. So when they created the Office of Alternative Medicine, she herself talked to the then temporary head of the office, Dr. Stephan, for me to go and make this presentation at the first Office of Alternative Medicine conference. I did go, I presented this thing. When the proceedings of the conference came out, they had edited my information out of the proceedings, so no one was aware of it. So there is something going on, Dr. Brown. Otherwise, for years I have pleaded with NIH to evaluate this concept. Not a word. To all of them, not a word. AMA, not a word. They have all written polite letters, but none of them are interested to evaluate it.
But Doctor, in all fairness, the perception of a conspiracy isn't proof.
I don't think that is. I think it's stupidity.
Of the fact that it actually will solve all of these problems.
I mean, no one is going to fund that research. And most of the funding is done by NIH or the pharmaceutical industry. And there is a revolving door between the NIH and the pharmaceutical industry.
I talked with a representative from a pharmaceutical company, and he says, Bob, who do you know that does research to put themselves out of business? Auto parts people? We have to answer to stockholders. He says, you're right. I want to put one more thing quick, but I don't want anybody to miss out on this one. I have talked to countless people with cancer, and 100% of the people I talked to with cancer had severe dehydration. I don't think there's any such thing as cancer, by the way. Cancer, diabetes, MS, muscular dystrophy, the common denominator is extreme dehydration. You look at the people's face and you wonder, can't the doctor see that these people are all dried out? I mean, unbelievable. Ladies coming in with big raccoon eyes. I mean, so dried out, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, but both of you make the argument that common sense is what's lacking, and yet in several ways when we come back and try to apply common sense the other way, there seems to be some, resistance.